So, what happened to the honest politicians Canada once knew? Every now and then I find myself wondering whether Canada has changed beyond recognition, or whether I've simply grown old enough to see through the illusion. I mean, there was a time, and I don't believe it's just nostalgia talking, when politics in this country seemed grounded in decency. We had leaders who spoke plainly, who knew their neighbors, and who treated public office as a responsibility, not as a brand. I mean, the honorable before their name actually meant something. These men and women might not have been perfect, but at least they seemed to remember who they were working for. And today, that sense of duty feels like a relic from another age. Like when I look at the landscape of Canadian politics now, I can't help but feel that something essential has rotted away. I mean, the words public service have been drained of meaning. We've turned a calling into a career, and it shows. I mean, once upon a time, politicians came from the real world, from farms, from classrooms, small businesses, and military service. And they brought with them a sense of responsibility shaped by hard work and real consequences. They'd run for office because they believed they could make a difference, not because they wanted to be seen making one. They were grounded by the simple fact that they lived among the very people who elected them. And you could bump into your MP at the grocery store and expect an honest conversation, not a rehearsed talking point polished by a communications team. Sure, these people made mistakes. Of course they did. Some were stubborn or old-fashioned, but their errors were usually their own, not a byproduct of an army of strategists or focus groups testing which version of the truth would be more palatable. I mean, they could debate fiercely in the House of Commons, then share a beer afterwards without despising each other. They disagreed on policy, not humanity. And it wasn't about destroying opponents or playing to a cheering section online. It was about doing what they thought was right for the country. And today, that spirit has almost vanished. Politics has become an industry of professional opportunists who spend their entire lives orbiting the system. Staffers who become MPs, then become lobbyists, who then circle back into the government again. I mean, it's a revolving door of ambition that never quite opens to the public. And it's hard not to notice that many of today's politicians have never built anything, never signed a paycheck, never risked failure. They move seamlessly from university to activism to political internships to party positions. They just climb a ladder that never touches the ground. They talk endlessly about lived experience, but most of that experience has taken place inside a political bubble. The result is a class of people more fluent in jargon than in reality. They're more concerned with ideology than with results, and more loyal to their party than to the people who elected them. When a system rewards obedience over courage, we shouldn't be surprised when cowards climb to the top. Now, I still believe there are good, honest people who enter politics for the right reasons. They exist, even now. But the system makes it nearly impossible for them to survive. I mean, the few who dare speak their minds or vote their conscience quickly find themselves punished, stripped of committee positions, cut off from party support, and painted as rogues by the media. I mean, we built a political culture that treats integrity as a liability. Now, the message is clear. Toe the line or be crushed by it. Loyalty to the party leader matters more than loyalty to Canada. I call that feudalism with better branding. The media, of course, plays its own role in this decay. There was a time when journalists held politicians accountable in good faith, when tough questions came from a desire to expose the truth, not to generate clicks or score partisan points. Now, too often, the media behaves like an attack dog with a favorite owner. Outlets that once prided themselves on objectivity now function like extensions of the political campaigns they're supposed to scrutinize. Complex issues are reduced to sound bites, and the outrage is manufactured daily to keep the attention economy humming. I mean, when honesty doesn't fit the headline, honesty gets buried. And let's not forget the bureaucratic machine that has quietly become our shadow government. The elected officials we send to Ottawa are supposed to make the decisions, but the permanent class of bureaucrats often holds the real power. They steer policy, shape priorities, and sometimes outright block change that doesn't fit their worldview. I mean, it's difficult for any politician, even an honest one, to fight against a structure that punishes initiative and rewards conformity. Some of the most principled voices I've known have simply walked away, worn down by a system that mistakes compromise for virtue and spin for leadership. So were there truly more good politicians in the past, or are we just living in a fantasy? I believe they did exist, not as mythic heroes, but as ordinary people who took the word public and public service seriously. They didn't have to brand themselves as authentic. They simply were. The reason they seem rare today isn't that Canada suddenly stopped producing good people, but that our system stopped allowing them to thrive. Our politics has become a stage, and the performers are chosen not for courage or competence, but for how well they play their part. If Canadians want better politicians, we have to start by taking responsibility for the culture we've created. We reward slogans over substance, and we mistake visibility for leadership. We elect people because they make us feel good in the short term, then act surprised when they fail to deliver long-term results. The truth is, democracy gives us the politicians we deserve. If voters tolerate dishonesty, we'll keep getting liars. And if we ignore accountability, we'll keep getting scandals. The decline of political integrity isn't just the fault of those in power. It's also on those who keep granting them that power without demanding any better. We need to stop pretending that politics is entertainment and remember that it's supposed to be service. That means expecting courage instead of charisma, truth instead of talking points, and transparency instead of performance. We should expect our leaders to speak from conviction, even when it's unpopular. We should encourage disagreement, not silence it, and we should remember that compromise is healthy only when it's built on principle, not on fear of losing votes. I won't deny that Canada has a handful of politicians who fit that description, men and women who genuinely want to do what's right, who still see public office as an act of stewardship, but they're swimming upstream against a current of careerism, cynicism, and institutional rot. It's not that good politicians have disappeared entirely. It's that the political machine we built is designed to grind them down until they either conform or quit. And the few who remain are the ones stubborn enough to keep fighting. And I have enormous respect for them. In the end, maybe the question isn't whether good politicians still exist. The real question is whether we as citizens are still willing to recognize and support them when they do. Canada didn't lose its integrity overnight. We let it erode through apathy and misplaced trust. We lowered our standards and got used to disappointment. But it's not too late to reclaim what we've lost. We can still demand honesty, reward backbone, and reject the empty theatrics that have taken over our national conversation. The good and honest politicians of Canada's past weren't figments of our imagination. They were real. People who saw leadership as service, not status. If they seem like ghosts today, it's because we stopped believing and we deserve their kind. And until we change that, we'll keep mistaking actors for leaders and wondering why the script never changes.